Namaste and in lak'ech. Welcome to this episode of One World in a New World. I'm your host, Zen Benefiel, and referring back to those two phrases in the ancient languages that they come from. Namaste means the divine in me recognizes the divine in you, and in lak'ech means I am another you. That's from the Brahmi and from the Mayan. Now, this is ancient wisdom that we seem to have forgotten today. And we might do well to kind of dip back into the past and reflect on what that actually means and how that can apply in our daily lives, right? So today's guest is Dr. Erica Miller, and she has got just the most amazing history from tragedy to triumph, which is actually one of her books. And she's written other books called Chronologically Gifted, Aging with Gusto. And now I kind of use the term geriatrically gifted. So I love how she is with that. And don't tell me I can't do it, right? So this is how a lot of us seem to, those who are self-initiating, kind of move through the world. Don't tell me I can't do that because I know I can. Now, she's had some really also wonderful history, not just from the horrific Holocaust survivor. And I'll have stories about that in the links below. But she's also, she went into the Israeli army. Her family moved to Israel in 1949, just after it formed. She went into the Air Force. And then from there, eventually she got a PhD in clinical psychology. So this is going to be a really interesting conversation. And Erica, thank you much for joining me today.
You know what? I love engaging. There's a reason why I'm still here on this earth. I cannot believe my good fortune. A girl is not supposed to give away her age, but in 2 months, I'll be 88. Look at me.
What a powerful number too.
I am telling you. All right. So I don't brag, I just share. I'm just grateful to be on this earth and have a conversation with you and your audience, because my voice, I like to hear my voice in the universe.
Well, and truly, you have a life of guts, grit, and gusto, along with a little glamour.
Ah! Oh my gosh, I'm full of myself. Forgive me, whoever looks at me.
Well, if you weren't full, I mean, who else are we going to be if we're not full of ourselves, right?
Hey,
and it's the perception of others as to whether they hear us from being in that authentic, raw, and real place, sometimes seeming a little overconfident because we know ourselves, or whether they're listening from an ego place of, oh, this person's just, doesn't really care. They're just full of themselves. That's all, they just like to hear themselves talk. And so there's two vastly different perspectives depending on the perception of which we are listening from.
And there are many layers to us.
Oh, absolutely.
And my thing is, I'm fearless. Why do you, as a grown-up, why do you think you know better what I should be doing with my life? Lay off. You know what? I'm over the top. I'm no, whatever it is. So what a wonderful position to be. Some people never get there.
Absolutely. And there's many millions, if not billions on the planet right now who have succumbed to this fallacious narrative and become subject to something that they never intended to have in their lives or be affected by, unfortunately. And so we're trying to recognize that and say, well, this isn't really the best for us, but we'll deal with it and we'll still have the care and compassion for each other that is within our own natural design to have, right? So speaking of the fearlessness, right? So you got into clinical psychology and I had a near-death experience in the mid-70s that was quite profound. I actually prayed to know what truth was and was asked if I was willing to die for what I believed in and landed on cosmic consciousness, said yes, and ended up in the light that just felt was iridescent and effervescent and this really high-pitched sensation. And I came back from that understanding that we are cosmic consciousness condensed into form. Now, from a clinical standpoint, most of the field is stuck in the DSM category, right? The diagnostic and service manual, or I forget exactly what it means, but we're looking at how to diagnose or they are looking at how to diagnose and manage things instead of, which is, and I had that from the second clinical psychologist I had to deal with. But the first one was very open. When I shared my experience, it took several weeks, and he finally said, Bruce, which I give a name, he said, you're not crazy. You've had a spiritual awakening. Why so young? I don't know. But my best advice is don't talk about it too much, because people aren't going to understand what you've learned at such a young age. So
they're going to call you weird.
I love weird, right? I love weird.
Oh my
right?
gosh, you're talking about, okay.
And I I used to fly my freak flag high, but now we just talk about it. So from that perspective, and knowing what you've gone through, I know there's a lot of layers in that depth that you have in the inspiration to go that direction. So I'm curious, just what was that? And, what oftentimes when we go into a career, we have this postulate in mind that we think to be true, but we don't know. And so we go into a field to find out whether it is or not, right? So as you went into this field, what were the kinds of things, both from an inner perspective and an external perspective, that you ran across and had to reflect and somehow navigate?
Very clear to me. I did not know it then. I was 7 years old when I was in camp in Ukraine, in a camp for 4 years, from 7 to 11. And 20 people, we were laying there. It was a holding camp. So most people died from starvation and typhoid. They didn't get to us fast enough to get us into the office, all right. So lots of blocks of memories. But I remember very clearly, we were in a little place, like 20 bodies laying there. There was one woman, she obviously got lost from her family, an old lady, probably 40, 50, who knows. I was with my mother, my sister, my father, holding her. And this woman, she was wailing in her contorted face, 7 years old. Right. I wanted to go. She was 3 bodies beyond. I wanted to go and touch her. She was absolutely wailing in a very silent place, everybody like that. So my mother held on to me very close. I couldn't touch her. So that contorted face is still with me. So again, I went along with life. We were liberated by the Russian, all kinds of things. Books tells my story. And then somehow they allowed us to go to Israel, and you told the story a little bit. So it always was in the back of my mind that someday I want to heal that contorted face. Someday I want to touch that woman and make her feel good. So in those days, in Israel, education was not an issue. It was working for the country and all that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. I worked 2-3 jobs during the day, and at night, 3 years night school, and I got my degree, high school diploma. I mean, my mother was petrified. I will not find a husband. I will be too smart. But my curiosity, my whatever, couldn't keep me from it. So when I came out from the Air Force, what my friends, in order not to go into the army, girls get away with murder between you and me. Sure. Guys cannot fake it, we can, right? So you get married, or you say that you're Orthodox. I thought it was horrible. The country needs me. So somehow I navigated. I did not need a man. I wanted to be independent, because all those dead bodies I saw around me. Sure. I was all alone in spite of the things. So I did not need anybody. But again, destiny had it. I came to visit my sister, relocated in Los Angeles, and destiny had it. I met my husband I was married for 53 years. He died about 9 years ago. He was a Jewish boy from Independence, Missouri. My point being, behind mine was always, I want to go to school to get my doctorate, not MD. I'm too old for that. So when my son, I have a daughter and a son, when my son was in first grade, I made the decision, I'm going to go back to school. My husband, although he was very proud of me, but he never saw that I could even go. I mean, I will get whatever. So
Sure, sure. Well, you got the determination. You know, you mentioned the curiosity too. That is such a key feature in life, and being able to move ahead with that fearlessness that you spoke of earlier, and the fact that you met and married a curious Missourian, you know, from the Show Me State.
Oh,
You
we should have met
turned
his
around and
father.
stood him.
Oh my
Right?
God, from the Ozarks. Okay,
Yeah.
so a big story. But 8 years later, I had my PhD. I knew I need to be a healer. Nobody wanted me to. And lucky as a family, my husband, Jerry, he never bargained for me. Are you kidding me? But I felt safe. And that was the time to follow my dream, to heal that contorted face.
Right.
And obviously, you know, heal myself. I don't know. I'm very detached.
Well, until we do that, you know, in the efforts of just let's take it globally, in the efforts to heal the planet, and you know, the planet will take care of itself, but basically to heal the people, we all have those kinds of images in some way, shape, or form deeply embedded in us that often keep us from stepping up. And those who do are driven by their desire to make or to help heal and to just soothe that person or people that are in that place, so that they too can experience a happier life.
Well, again, like you said, in Hebrew, there's a saying, tikkun olam, save the world. That's what you're talking about it. And to me,
getting through the Mishigas.
Okay. Okay. You don't have to be Jewish, whatever. But again,
Yeah. I'm kind of an adopted member of the tribe.
You know what? You should see in my home, I travel all over the world. So I used to be afraid of Christian, because again, the Germans, the Nazi Romanians were Catholic Christian. Guess what? Not any longer. First of all, I'm in America, and then I found out that Jesus was my cousin, and I knew him before you knew him. So I have that place. It's like a shrine. I have a Hamzi, a Jewish kind of hand, you know, to repair the world. I have a cross. I have Buddha. I have Japanese. I have Zen. And so with the things, when I was in Tibet and Himalayan mountain, whatever. So my point being, I am a citizen of the world, as are you. And there are not many people like you and me. And I don't brag, I share. There are not many leaders. Most of us followers, we need a paycheck at the end of the month. Life takes courage, in guts, in grit. I have lots of mantra. Courage to, whatever, a grit, persevere, in gusto. Be grateful that you're here. Be grateful that, okay.
There's the 5 Ps that are used in kind of self-development and organizational development to some degree. And that's patience, perseverance, persistence, purpose, passion, and purpose. And there's a 6th one, right, that's kind of unspoken: practice, right? Because the others don't matter if you don't practice it, right?
You know what, we could go on forever. We have so much in common. The plasticity, I'm intrigued. The plasticity of the brain is such that, again, never mind your feeling. You want to change your behavior, you have to practice again and again, because again, and then you can adjust accordingly. So you're not stuck, this is who I am. So my point.
Well, the important thing is the observation of it too, right? You have to be self-aware enough to where that observer self becomes present and says, oh, okay, this is working and that's not working, and I need to have these kinds of things. And you can't really do that where you're, for lack of a better, when you're engaged in the Mishigas, right?
And some cannot help it.
Yeah.
You know, and some are aware, but fear is part of our DNA. And I keep on saying, we are not our ancestors. Other tribes are not about to take us over. A bear is not going to come and eat us up. But we have it, when in doubt, freak, fight or flight. And people are scared. And I've seen all those people, encouraging them to have courage.
So do you think that in regard to those embedded cultural memes and creoles, right, that and they're passed through whether you want to call it bloodlines or simply genetics, right? They're
DNA,
embedded, they're there,
right?
right? So do you find that in bringing that aspect up just for simple observation and recognition, that helps one to transition to being aware that they can make different choices now?
Okay, some never can.
Uh,
You cannot get
right.
blood out of a turnip. Okay, those that are able to, if they have a partner, I worked long term with people that came to me.
Mm-hmm.
So that again, what is their goals, whatever. So it's like people go to OA, you have a sponsor, you have somebody, so you're not all alone. And if you're clear, you have a vision, how are you going to get there? But not everybody has it. Some are lady like they, like sociopathy, sociopaths, those that you never would know, the pedophiles, whatever. No matter how much you try them, there's a flaw in their character. And that's why we never know. So trust but verify strangers. So it's not that simple. Introspection, you're funny. My husband, the Jewish boy from Independence, Missouri, he was smart and fun and creative, but he was not introspective. I could never have a conversation with him like I have a conversation with you. He was not, in spite of the Bible, the Talmud, philosopher, nothing, no way. My daughter's the same thing. My son is more like me. So I found other people to philosophize and whatever. So no, not everybody. We're similar with similar needs, but they're different as well. So it's like, no, not everybody can. And without to have a vision, without to be able to introspect, forget it. There's no chance. People can mimic. They can, but then again, it's a whole different story.
Right. Yeah, we're very good at mimicking. Now, if we could just learn a little more about biomimicry and natural rhythms and cycles, that would be, as I have the view of Earth from a distance, sitting on the moon as I am, this is another perspective of seeing ourselves as a whole and not separate, because we are one planet, one people. And this opportunity now coming out of COVID and working towards a new normal, having these kinds of discussions that you and I can share, but many others can listen to and reflect upon, gives them the opportunity to see things differently. And when we change our perspective, the world changes, right?
And it is a process of evolving personally in climates universally. But we have to accept not what we cannot do, what can we do. Can we reach everybody? No, we can. But how wonderful it is to have your voice heard, having my voice heard. And no, I don't brag, I share us. And it's a fact, we have to be realistic. Well, everybody cannot do what we are doing. And again, there are people, speaking about heroes. Those, they're not selfless, but when in crisis they come, they're their brother and sister's keeper. And most people look the other way. They don't want to get involved because fear. So my point being is I'm a problem solver. What can I do with whom rather what I cannot do? The cup is always half full with me.
Sure.
I'm educated.
I even think that we could take it a step further, whether it's half full or half empty, doesn't matter. We hold the pitcher.
Okay. I just want to affirm that you're unique, I'm unique, and it's not bragging. They're outside the box, and we are those that can inspire some people. And this is a calling. I'm a priest, I'm a professor, I'm a teacher, I'm whatever, as are you. And by the way, I am absolutely fascinated with the paranormal. I had experiences myself, absolutely. I'm skeptic. Whatever, but my experience is like yours, different. There is something more than meets the eye.
It's good to be skeptical because, the truth wants to be tested, right? You come up with the right questions, and until you come up with those right questions, you're not really going to dive down or drill down into what's actually real. Now, you mentioned, not being able to have the conversations with Jerry. I am so fortunate. Just a few years ago, I got remarried to a wonderful woman that's from St. Petersburg. And she decided as a 21-year-old, she was conservatory trained pianist and accompanist. They were in Rome with the choral group from Mussorgsky College. And she decided she was going to come to America. She was fascinated with America. Now, she lived a great life. Her father was privileged individual. He owned a restaurant in downtown St. Petersburg. And so her coming here was completely, a surprise to them, but yet she took it on herself and she just went. Now, we met just a few years ago, but her depth of inquisition into psychology, self-awareness, quantum physics even, really gave us the opportunity to figure out, the differences in the cultural expressions first, because we had two different dictionaries that we had to figure out how to say the same thing, right? And then once that took place, we started diving into this awareness of how we could live in quantum entanglement, which is kind of a current day view of living in spirit, right? So the synchronicities, the serendipitous moments, the awareness and the ability to recognize those things just took our life to a whole new level. And I think that's what you're talking about in the discussions we have with others and the sharing of that information, sometimes prolifically, because you and I both are huge sharers, and that could be misunderstood too. But our intent is to share because we found cool stuff that we think is valuable. And all we want to do is share it for others, right?
And not everybody hears you. They
Right.
can listen but not hear you. And how lucky is your destiny that you met up with this wonderful lady, Russian or Chinese, I don't care, somebody that you are in common, you are in sync, you are sharing something that most people don't even know what you're talking about.
Right.
Okay, so, and that is destiny. So my point being is, it's like amazing. I never want to die. It sucks. I know, you know what, but destiny says it. And I know I'm weird. And audience, hi, I have a casket on the bottom of my bed, a beautiful piece of wood with studs. And I had an artist paint me in a white dress like this.
I saw that picture, yeah.
Okay, and I'm going to have, after the COVID, because my daughter said, Mother, what are you doing? Nobody's going to come to the house because the word death. Hey, it's not if, it's when. It reminds us the meaning to life is death, to be in the moment and to be engaged. Because
absolutely. And
am I weird or what? How many people have caskets in their home already, ready to go?
I think that's a novel idea, actually, because you dance. It's like this conversation. I was listening to Joe Rogan last night, and he was talking about, how conversations are just a dance, and for folks like us, it's kind of like a tango, because we'll float around and then we'll have this apocalyptic moment. And apocalypse doesn't mean catastrophic. It means uncovering. Right? It's so misconstrued. So
and addressing it, and I'm going to have a party, a rehearsal of my death. I have a home theater, a stage. I'll be there addressing all my young, my friends. I'm all young people in their 40s, 50s, a whole crowd.
Well, yeah, you're young at heart, so that just stands to reason you're going to have a bunch of younger people around you. Yeah.
Right. And I want to hear what they have to say about me when I'm alive. Not when, maybe I will hear them later. But my point being is, I'm an educator. I want them to be in the moment. I want them to appreciate, to be in the gusto. So when my grandson, he already graduated, he's an attorney now at USC, he wanted me to speak. I'm an inspirational speaker, as you can see, to speak in front of his faculty and all the student body at USC in Los Angeles. Are you sure, Andrew? He says, yeah, okay. So here I went, and whatever I did, they lined up to do selfies with me, his friends and the professors. All that. And then he called in the end of the day, Bobby, babushka, old lady, he calls it.
Yeah.
They loved you. I said, what about me? What is it they loved about me? You were so inspiring. You were so relevant. You kept us reminding us that young people die too. It's a process of evolving. Someday we will put in jail the bad people, attorneys, and the good people we will, save. But meantime,
so kind of like Shakespeare, the only good attorneys are dead attorneys.
Okay, it's not getting there. It's a process. Smell the roses right now. So again, my point being is, life is an amazing journey, and I'm going to shut up so you can ask some more questions.
I just listening to you because you're so attentive and you're so present. And I think that's probably why you're so inspiring as well, because you're so just amazingly here in the moment, and you're addressing both ends of the spectrum, right? Because we can't really deny anything. To do that would be foolish, and it would just not benefit us, because we need to take things in reality. And my dad used to say, plan for the worst, hope for the best, and then be happy with whatever you get. But at least you've looked at both ends of the spectrum and you've prepared at least somewhat accordingly, just in case. Well, we often hope for the best, and because we do that, we're aware of what might happen. And so there's this mechanism that we often have that kind of takes over and help assists us in the planning to make sure that the kinds of things that are distractive and even sometimes destructive don't even enter the picture, because it's about the attention, intention, and interaction. And our minds are so powerful that if we are distracted, we're going to it's like Castaneda and Don Juan talk about sealing the egg, right? So we have those psychic tendrils that leak. And if we want to be focused and attentive, then we need to have that sealed. We have to have our focus in the right direction and not allow it to be distracted. And that's exactly what you've done. You've just gone through life with this, hey, I don't know what I can't do, and don't tell me what I can't do, because I'm going to prove you wrong if you do.
And if I can, I have visions. And if I cannot do it, it's okay. I will accept it. 2 years ago, I went up on Mount Everest, 17,000 feet with National Geographic. Wow. Okay, at the base camp.
Yeah.
A year before, I went Machu Picchu, the Inca Trail, 11,000 feet, whatever. I did not know I would be able to do it, but life choices we make. The reason I look so good, my girlish figure, is for 40 years, forever. I walk every day 3 miles. I work out with weights and all that at the gym and all that kind of life choices. So I'm pescatarian and all that kind of thing. So I take good care of
we.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're going to live to 123 too. And you know why 123? You know why I'm going to live to 123 in you? You know why?
Because our diet and our exercise and our mentality. I'm guessing, and that's probably not the answer you have. So
no, I have a better answer than you, and no contest here. I mean, you're okay and I'm okay.
Yeah.
When I researched for my latest book, which made me an international bestseller, and I already lectured in Ireland, in Canada, whatever. It's research all over the world, people that live long and well, what it takes, a lot of things, exercising, whatever, faith and eating and being engaged in the universe and all that kind of thing.
Right.
There was a woman that lived 122 in 64 days, the longest living person, authentic. She lived 122 in 64 days. So I decided I can beat her. I can live to 123. I want to be in the book of Guinness. Do you hear me?
Yes. And you know what?
Based on fact.
There's actually something that I know of that I can help support you in that. And it's a dissertation by an academician from Russia. Her last name is Mironova. And Luba, my wife, shared it with me. It has English subtitles, so it's cool. But she does a dissertation about the recent scientific discoveries that indicate that we are in a biospiritual evolutionary stage as human beings, and that this is actually, by how we treat our bodies. Right now we live from the shoulders up, and we're not aware of what the body's doing, let alone that there's 3 brains rather than 2. The one, we've got the gut, the heart, and the head. And that's indigenous philosophy. But the aspect of being able to engage that level of consciousness, that where we're aware of our bodies and the subtle signs that it has, because it's a transceiver far more than just what our brains are. So as we learn to not only be aware that we have the instrument, longest journey, right, 18 inches, and then
mind-body connection, mind-body connection.
Right. And with that, then we have the ability of not only recognizing our body as an instrument, but we can actually learn how to play it. And of course, the idea of that, we think we can work through things, but a system built on vibration, we simply cannot think our way through it. We have to sense our way through it. And that's a completely different kind of modus operandi than most everybody are used to, right?
And amazing research is going out,
Absolutely.
and they predict, because I get whatever I'm interested, never will stop, that somebody is already born that can live till 150. The way we are, when a baby is born, when they get detect the inheritance kind of diseases and Alzheimer's, all that kind of thing. But it's not just living long and well with purpose and passion, having meaning to get up.
Absolutely. And that's what fuels it, is to be so connected. You know, we have a natural, in my opinion, and from my experience, we have a natural design embedded in this holistic system that we call mind, body, spirit, right? Soul as well. And so this is what's attempting, this is the apocalypse, in my opinion, where science is now revealing what ancient spiritual teachers have been saying for millennia. And it's giving us a way to see it from the left brain perspective, the logic, the reason, and then the right brain being the creative. But we've forgotten that, you know, the corpus callosum is right in the center, and it's the translator and transmitter of all of this. So this is where the whole brain idea and all the different you know, tapes and CDs and things like that to use binaural beats and solfeggio tones and all that kind of stuff. This is what it's intending to help us evolve toward.
And it is a process.
Absolutely. And it's a wonderful one, but it is a process and it takes time. We can't be impatient with it, because when we push or pull energy in any direction, then we're not in flow. We're out of the moment.
Too bad. And when you said before, we can never be prepared. We don't know the next second what comes around the corner. So we are not dinosaurs, knowing that we will somehow figure it out. We can never be ready. So it's like fight or flight, when in doubt, freak. But we are going to be, no, it is a normal reaction. It's part of our DNA and understanding it. But most people, we are privileged. I call myself an aristocrat. You are too. We have the time and the awareness and the introspection and whatever it is, you know, to be able to have a conversation like this. Most people all over the world, they barely can make a living. They barely can figure out whatever. So this is such a privilege. So again, it's what we can contribute, you and me, baby. Okay, forgive me. I have to watch my mouth, because sometimes
don't watch your mouth. You can't see it. I can, and it's okay.
No, because I put my.
Don't be sorry. Be Erica.
Okay, I am Oive, my Erica. No, very often I translate from different languages, and sometimes I put my foot in the mouth, and then I say things I don't mean no harm, but it's not appropriate. And we are in a culture right now, you have to be politically correct. You don't want to hurt people's feelings, and you want to be appropriate.
And sometimes colloquialism is justified, though, because it makes a point when others can't.
I know. But again, the only thing I can say, oops, I will never use that word again, is, for example, for the longest time, it's like, don't complain, go do, put out, whatever. So I was just told recently, Erica, putting out is a sexual connotation. You cannot say put out. I say, okay, give me another equal, whatever. Okay, go the extra mile. Guess what? I'm catching myself, because all those years, finally, a girl here in the community, we walk every Tuesday together. She said, you really, I said some guy that he wanted to walk, but he wanted to walk on in the morning. I don't walk in the morning, I walk at night. So I said, hey, you want to walk with me? Put out. So she said, you're not so. Oops. So I am not a mind reader. Tell me, and I will change my vocabulary. And if I catch myself in the act of doing, but I'm not, what I decide as a grown-up not to do or say. So without a sense of humor, we might as well, right?
Well, and humor, you know, I had an interview recently with an old friend of mine that goes by Swami Beyondananda, and his name's Steve Behrman. And he's used comedy for 35 years. He's kind of a new age comedian that takes the silliness of how we think and act towards each other and kind of flips it around. So there's this moment of seeing things from a different perspective, right? That brings you into that ever-present, humorous, almost a blissful state where you're just in this suspension, sometimes waiting for a punchline, but even when you get the punchline, there's the laughter that comes up,
Release.
and you get the endorphins or the oxytocin, or the different hormones that really give us the pleasurableness of
Really
the
important.
experience of life.
Smiling and laughing. So funny, I live by myself. I have this big house. How big do I need it? But I have it. How lucky am I? I walk, whatever. I laugh and I smile because it's good for me.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
speaking, it's good for me to do this or that. And it's all about doing my part in having the longest life healthy that I can make happen. Because you can see my curiosity, what happens in space. And, it's I miss myself already and I'm not dead yet. So I really appreciate the moment like crazy. And
Sure.
I'm no wonder people seek me out, the one that I got, what, and it's,
Right.
And some can emulate me. So when some, oh my gosh, you saved me. I said, I did. What did I say? I get it a lot because I'm not giving it away to strangers, but I am who I am.
Absolutely. And like you are with me right now, I would imagine that you're playful in public with strangers and wherever you at. I'm the same way, because I find that I enjoy life more that way. Some people look at me and give me strange looks, and I'm weird. I get it. I'm fine with that. But that's what imbues life with this connectivity and with a greater sense of community, because you're treating people friendly. Right. And you're having fun with them. And it takes them out of their moment of doldrum or whatever, even if it's just for a moment. It brings a smile to their face, and sometimes even makes their day.
You know what? With some and some not, because it's like touching someone, smile, you do, that is the extra thing that you get back. And like I'm in the elevator, when I go to the office, whatever it is, hi. I'm going to the top. I like that. A restaurant, I engage because, again, I like to touch people. I like to touch that contorted woman that was crying. She was all alone. So it's like, again, it is attractive. It is a secondary gain. It's not, it's something but it's automatic with you. It's automatic with me. And we don't reach them all. That's all I keep on repeating myself, because you can try to get blood out of a turnip. You can try, especially when you have family members, when I see certain things. And then again, you try, it's not happening, it never will. Accept and embrace what you can.
Right. And even in education, I taught high school for almost 7 years, and then wrote a business plan for a model community, a holistic community for at-risk kids. And what I found in how I taught, special ed in some cases, self-contained 1 year, and then 3 different charter schools. And so the charter schools are usually kids that have challenges with public schools. But the attitude that I had and how I treated the students was far different than what I saw most teachers doing. And I got a heck of a lot better results. My expectations were higher, right? And they didn't always meet them, but they did more than they thought they could. And that was what mattered.
Attitude, we are on the same page. Attitude makes a big, big difference. And because some people, we used to say in Israel, Americans people, they're good-hearted, they're nice people, but they're naive. So I get with educated people, how come she don't? How come they cannot? Because they're not you. We are not. We are not, because again, it's mind-boggling because we all have a finger. We're spectators, and we see certain. But again, we're not all us. How wonderful it would be, or not, to have more people like us. So many people. So the question is, how come they're doing that? How come? Because they can't. They're not you. Do you hear me?
Right. I was listening to Les Friedman talking to his dad, Alexander Friedman, who from Russia. And they were talking about how in the educational system there that they were encouraged to perform. They were looked upon as developing the aptitudes and the skills and supporting their natural attitudes and aptitudes. Well, in America, we don't do that. Our school system was set up to put people to work in factories initially, and it hasn't really changed all that much. So there's this expectation of having to just listen to a teacher with a little engagement in the classroom. And so there's these this robotization, if you will, that takes place. And I think that's part of what the problem with the naivety is, because there's no critical thinking skills. It's like the second greatest deficit in America is critical thinking. And so how would you suggest that we kind of bolster this idea of being able to think for yourself and rise above the playing field, so to speak, and figure out how to move forward?
Okay.
You don't need to raise your hand. We're not in a classroom, right?
Yes, Professor. How will I make you shut up so I can?
Yeah.
It's happening. Change is happening very slowly. My granddaughter, Shayna, she turned 29 and she has a private school, Stars Academy. Her name is Shayna Turk, and I am so impressed. She started off in my home theater, so she doesn't have to be around, but she's moving out because she's growing, and it's exactly what they're doing. It's not about grades. It's a bunch of age, young, whatever. Their ability, their interests, values, music, sports, communication, history and math, whatever you need. So yeah, that is privilege. I know. But in charter school, because of the challenge kids, they do it a little bit different because you cannot do everybody the same. Right. But yeah, usually it is, but for the norm, the sheep, I don't mean that anybody's less than you and me, but this is what it is. And then the creativity, Einstein, and they're not Einstein, they're mimicking him and whatever, things because it makes sense. Looking at other countries, what works, what doesn't work. So it's evolving a little bit. And I'm so impressed with her because she's stern, but again, she's been doing it since she's 11. She's 29. And the music, musicals and this and them. So yeah.
Well, and she's got a grandmother to live up to.
Well, again, I mean, am I tough to live up to? But again, we're speaking the ideal. We will never all be equal.
We don't speak about the ideal, though, we can never move forward at all, because it's that reaching, like Les Brown said, if you don't shoot for the stars, you'll never hit the moon.
Absolutely. And you call it stars. It's like some of my patients were psychotic. I've worked in Metropolitan State Hospital, whatever. It's like they have a vision. They used to have conversation with Jesus. Okay, I do a little bit now too. But it's like before you can make anything happen, you have to have a vision. And then, like I said before, how can we make it happen? And we can, some of us can dream big, and some of our visions become a reality, and we can inspire others. Look where you're coming from. Look where I come from. And I cannot help, I don't brag, I share. A movie has been made already, the producer, they're looking for a producer. There's going to be a movie about my life. Never mind the count. It's about the strengths of the character.
What's the transformation?
And ask me what the title of the movie is going to be.
Don't tell me I can't do it. No.
No. And you'll ask me how come. Beautiful Death.
Oh, that's amazing. That's like excruciatingly fun.
I am telling you, he is something else. He has been doing 30 movies. I mean, he is something else. And he was so impressed because as the little girl in my book, I looked out the window and I saw all those dead bodies in the camp. And very detached, which I am now, I looked out and I said, they're so ugly. Maybe tomorrow I will be a corpse. But just before I die, I want to pose. I want to die pretty. Guess what? I still want to die pretty.
Sure.
So you have to have something eye-catching. So this is the name. I mean, it's about my portion. It's not a good documentary. My portion, when I went back to school 8 years later, I had my PhD in the drama of my parents there, and everybody judged me, and the kids sabotaging and all that kind of thing. Love, pull at your heartstring, tough but glory. And my point being is beautiful death. So having a vision, and then you make it happen. No guarantees. I already invested money, whatever. He believes it's very timely to have that kind of, interact family dynamics and all that kind of thing. But I guess, who do I think I am? It's not about me. It's about me, not about me. It's about a character, the purpose and passion and the healing, the sorrow and the healing. That's what you're talking about.
Well, and it's interesting, and you mentioned the paranormal earlier, and there are so many dynamics to that. One of my favorite um, interviewers is Jeffrey Mishlev, and I'm sure you're probably familiar with him. He had a show called Thinking Aloud on PBS for 20 plus years, and now he's doing New Thinking Aloud on YouTube. When I first did my show called One World, which is the predecessor to this one 30 years ago, I had two people I wanted to emulate, him and Bill Moyers, because I liked their interview style. They were very inquisitive. And Jeff, with a doctorate in parapsychology, his world was investigating the paranormal, which is just fascinating. He had people like one of the guys that I ran into and just reviewing his work was a guy named Howard Neppe. And Neppe and Edward Close put together a model of reality, if you will. They were quantum physicists, and they called it the TDVP, and it stands for Triadic Dimensional Distinction Vortical Paradigm. And basically, yeah, now I'm going to play Einstein here and explain it simply, because he says if you can't explain something simply, then you really don't understand it. So what the simple explanation of it is that they say consciousness is tethered, or consciousness, space, and time are tethered across 9 dimensions. And of course, they have this all the math to do that as well. But from my personal experience, I've had instructional facilitated processes where I've actually experienced that reality. So there's in finding the reality of how the paranormal bleeds through, or the liminal space right in between the worlds where the two merge. There's this opportunity to have congruence and corroboration and sometimes even collaboration if you're really good, right? So as this takes place, I'm leading to a question in your own experience of recognizing how your intention and those around you, when you're thinking and feeling and being a certain way, how does that reflect in others around you, and what do you notice as the shift that your personal presence makes?
It will sound like bragging.
Then brag, right? Because reality sometimes it's you state what is, and that's a Zen thing. It's just what is. There's no judgment, there's no criticism. It's just what is, and when you observe clearly, that's what you see.
Okay. Here we go. It was, a very long time ago, a tarot card reader in New Orleans. I just got married, so we had some time to spend between the cruises or whatever. Right. So I went to him. I never was told whatever. So here I sit down. Never had experience with tarot card. I had experience with
quite an eye opener, huh?
Okay. All right. Now I pulled this card. It was this big matron with a big urn in front of her. Okay, that's what I picked the card. It's the only time I ever had tarot cards. So I picked it. So he said, oh my gosh, first of all, it's your 9th life. There's a lot of wisdom in you. And all those people, they're coming. You're going to live a long time. And all the people are going to feed off of your wisdom, on your urn of wisdom, 9 years, whatever. Automatically tears. It happened, not lately, but automatic, without to realize, tears were gushing, because I never thought I would reach 30, I would reach 40. I never thought I would have the gift of life, because all those days.
Well, when you were 11, you probably weren't sure you're going to make it to 12.
How come me? Why would I? Because why do bad things happen to good people? I'm not chosen, I'm Jewish, but I'm not chosen, whatever. So by him saying that I will live along with wisdom and all that kind of thing. So yeah, you know what?
Yeah, that's what it is.
You know what, for a geek, a control freak, I'm very open to say I know a lot and I know very little, and I will never understand the whole schema. I don't need to. I just am part of it.
No, the wisdom that you carry and your ability to share it, the inspiration you provide, and the knowledge as well as the wisdom really serves that purpose of raising people up, because this is the story of your life. It's been raising people up. In
other people's lives.
Right.
Right. So to answer your question, it's a little detour.
I'm fine with tangentialism. We can do that.
There is a group, I live in Hidden Hills. It's a gated community and on the way to Santa Barbara.
Okay.
Calabasas, Hidden Hills. And
Yep.
my claim to fame is the end of the cul-de-sac. The Kardashians live, a bunch of them. I don't know who's, whatever. I'm not impressed with money or title. I have in both. But my point being is that a number of about 6 women, young women, 40s to 50s, that for about 4 years, a neighbor said, oh my gosh, we should have a meeting. We should get together, all working girls and all high-end girls, whatever. I said, you make it happen. You come to my house. And for 4 years, I'm not a therapist. I'm one of the girls. I'm as useful. I relate to them like I'm one of them. All my peers are either dead or they're in a retirement place. There's nothing wrong with it. I will never go in a retirement place. So they absolutely, I have an impact on them just by being me. It's like, she went on to Peru, Jennifer, and she could not walk. She's a little bit zaptic. So her husband, come on, emulate Erica. You can do it. Huh? Right. Or this Camille says, oh my gosh, I saw on the airplane, I saw this woman, crying, and the man in her kind of almost like beating her up physically. So I went to her, I did an Erica. I went to her, said, are you okay? Can I do something for you? And he said, bud out, she's my wife. She says, no, I'm not going to bud out. You do not mistreat her. And she emulated me. This is just a little example just around. So I make a difference. When I speak in front of, I have a business and my second home is in Austin, Texas. So I've spoken a number of times with the youth.
Beautiful little city too.
Not so little. Are you kidding me? I've been there for 50 years.
Yeah, that's true. It's grown just like Phoenix. First moved here in 81 and there were cornfields in between the suburbs and now there isn't. So you have been there, Austin. But my point being in front of students, here, and I don't do well with older people. I would not go to retirement place, and I try very hard not to be an ageist because they kind of an ageist. Okay, that's a new one.
I try very hard because remember, I'm a widow. I'm a useful, energetic, and I have about 30 more years. And again, at least old people want young people and young people there. I will never not be open. The likelihood is about destiny. But again, older people are not a good example because I tried a few times, they wanted me to talk to them in their wheelchairs. I wish I could have been like her. So I don't help them any. So
too late.
Okay, and I say it's never too late. You can even wiggle in your wheelchairs to keep your whatever extremities going. But I'm really good. 11, rare. I've been in 2 high schools because I get paid now. I'm name recognition, and if they pay somebody else, I should get paid. But again, Catholic school and a church or in a temple, obviously I don't get paid. And it's like I relate to look what you still can do. The impossible is done. You're the hostess of your own destiny. You are in charge. You're the captain of your own boat. So I inspire, and I get taller, and I get beautifuler, whatever it is, and I keep whatever, because if I can do it, you can do it. Right. So to answer to your question, I am a real positive example, and they gravitate toward me, and there's nobody negative in my life. I don't have any friends. I don't have time for friends. I never had time for friends. Jerry was the social director. I was just following.
That's an interesting point because similar. I don't spend a lot of time with other people. My wife and I are together pretty much 24/7, and so that's a wonderful experience. Really, all we need. And yet, there is this activity that we do that engages others. I'm being a Cancer, and you sound like you might have some water sign in you as well.
By the way, Cancers are very compatible. My son is Cancer. My husband, he was Virgo, and Diana is Pisces. I'm Scorpio. Don't mess with me. Oh,
all right. So my wife's Piscean. So we have this water thing going on here. And I love Scorpios because they're direct and oftentimes like you, from that, the 3 aspects of it, right? You've become the eagle of that triune energy in the Scorpio. So you're able to fly around, be yourself, not be pretentious about it. That's just who you are, right?
And I'm not clingy. I'm not jealous. I'm not some of the negative parts. No. of Scorpio.
Well, why do you need to be? That's what I'm saying. You're at that ego place where you have no attachment to all the mishigas. It's just you're being you, you're enjoying life, you're helping those around you, and you're being edified in the process, right? Because the wisdom that you carry. And now at this point in your life, and you know, you're more than 20 years my senior, but still I recognize the process of maturation where even decade by decade, you know, we have life experiences that we learn from and better questions to ask that, you know, it's like trying to tell a teenager that offering your wisdom as a parent, right? And unless they're asking the question, they're not listening, right? It doesn't matter what you're going to tell them, right? They just gone. However, as you get older, you learn those better questions, you reflect on them more, you internalize them, you observe the reality around you as to how that, like Rookie says, right? Maria Rookie, he says that you have to learn to listen or to live with the question, right? And the answer will come in life experience. It's not something that's, you know, you ask the question, boom, you're going to get the answer, you know, because that's based on your own thinking, which why have the question if you already got the answer, right? So the life experience.
If you are engaged in life.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So many are not, right?
Yeah, right. And that's so let's talk about that for today, coming out of this global head in the sand activity that most people are succumbing to. How do you see that and a new normal that works better coming into being? Or do you?
I do. Because we are evolving as a species, and every event out of our control shapes the earth and shapes our beingness in the world. So there's more opportunity. It's like nothing we could do about, we just had to go along. And those lucky of us that survived, there will be more opportunity, maybe more appreciation of life, number one, more because family were thrown together, those that lived, that they got to know each other, and opportunity perhaps not to be so rigid, maybe only 3 days at work and then 2 days at home, so the caretaker of children will be able to be more engaged in the workforce, because I'm a big proponent. Women want equality. They have to be partnering with the men in their life.
Absolutely. And with the redistribution of workers now, the easy for me to say, right? Remote workers now have the opportunity to choose where they live, right? So there's a whole movement taking place, and there was a festival I presented the business plan for the holistic educational community to just a few months ago, that it was called Rebuild. And they were over 700 people that gathered from around the globe that were interested in learning more about building regenerative communities. And the impetus for that was the shift in remote working and them being able to look for places where they can gather and live with like minds. I think that's fascinating. And when that happens, there is going to be maybe not a huge, but at least a more expeditious shift in how we manage ourselves and our planet, because there's going to be working models of it.
More options.
Yeah.
So any kind of change, we are evolving, not all for the best. I don't care, I'm not in judgment.
Well, it's all an experiment, right? We don't know.
We don't know, and some of us are more resilient than others. And the resilience, I don't know that you can learn. It's part of our makeup too, but we can be inspired.
Right. The inspiration, you know, we have a whole division of labor, right? And we think that this, you know, one world government or new world order or whatever it is from their perspective is going to have this control over everything, and the position is going to shift around. Well, or from the other perspective, the new world order of harmony among people and planet, which is where I come from, is one that isn't necessarily utopia. As a matter of fact, it manages chaos instead of be controlled by it, right? And so we look for consistent patterns. That's kind of the regenerative movement, and how this then affects our ability to live in greater harmony. Now, this doesn't take away from the need for the various offices and professions and careers and all those kinds of things. But what it does do is it simply shifts the attitude slightly to one of appreciation instead of degradation of, oh, I got to go do this. And, you know, because we are alive, we do have opportunities. We are feeding our families. And even though we may not be doing it exactly like we would like, or with as much as what we would like, it's still there. And even though we're having a world Holocaust, so to speak, we've survived and we're coming back together again.
And again, it's different from chaos. Some order comes to be, and not to be so rigid, not either or. This is another thing. What is it? Because like I said, we are not robots. Robots come in handy now. They even, you know, they do computer in our heart, you know, they replace and all that kind of thing. So yeah, from things, those of us that are lucky enough to survive, it's adaptation. That's why we survive. That's why we're not dinosaurs. Because, you know, but what can we do? Guess what? We can do something different. Something, not everybody, but at least there's an option. And
lean into the uncomfort a little bit. You know, it's not that scary. You've got support, others around you. You know, the universe will even support you when you make a commitment, and just lean into it.
And remember, life takes courage, and you're not all alone in the world. And again, it's an adventure, and everything is not predictable, and it's whatever, it's scary, but it's okay. We shall be okay as long as we are alive. So it's nice. That was really tough for especially my daughter, because unless you're dying, you go to school. I mean, you know what, that kind of thing. In the same epidemic, guess what? I'm alive. And so many had not made it. I'm still here. And to me, the gift of life that keeps on giving. The rest is an adventure. It's an adventure talking with you. Who are you? I know Zen, I know. But my point being is,
who are you?
No, it's networking, because again, I need to be out there because it's like Dracula with blood. By the way, I lived in Transylvania, and you know what, in Sibiu after the war for a year, whatever. So I don't wear any glasses. I read, I drive. I don't need it. I don't hearing aids. I have no medication except Synthroid, my God, whatever. So it's like, don't mess with me. All right. Because Dracula was my cousin, and you know what, so just the fear, whatever, don't. So unless you're dying, I have all that power. So if kids are going to be bullying you or something, because there was, you know, Jewish, you know, a community in Sao Paulo that I hear, and there were some anti-Semitic little remarks, and my kids, whatever, they were bullied. I said, tell him that your mother is from Transylvania, and if you're not going to lay off me, whatever, she's going to get you. And that scared people away. So my point being is, you embrace life. Unless you are dying, gift of life that keeps on giving. And the mystery, it's like, yeah, I'm engaging you. And again, I would not have done it before COVID. I like person in person. And because I'm an elder and I have status, if somebody wants to meet up with me, guess what? They come to my beautiful office home, because I see you, but it's different than your face to face.
Sure, right.
I made a lot of contacts, a lot of podcasts and webinars, whatever. I resisted it in the beginning. I was rigid. I don't want to, whatever. No, I did not go, lectures, whatever. But I'm saying it's different, and it's better. The cup is half full, and I get connected. And after this craziness, not craziness, and I don't know what normal. It's every day is normal.
I've always wondered, that's a question I still have. What is normal, and what's this creating a new normal? What's that supposed to mean? I think it's more about just being more willing to, as we talked about earlier, engage that superpower of vulnerability and ask what you're needing, or ask for what you're needing, and look for how it's going to show up. Because just back into the paranormal thing, we do have the ability of interacting with reality in very fine detail. We just don't recognize that. But once we start becoming more aware, whether don't necessarily need to be more educated. It just needs to be more focused and direct with the questions and the observations of how the world shows up to you in the process of answering that question, right? Kind of back to, again, to what Rilke was saying.
Okay, and I don't mean to give you a hard time.
Oh, please do. I love it.
But the word reality and truth, phenomenologically defined, it's in the eyes of the beholder. So there is no truth, and there is no, we're speaking about, it depends. We are looking at the same thing.
Absolutely. No, I'm speaking from that personal perspective of how you're moving and what reality is reflecting to you specifically, because you're the one that's observing it. Nobody else is. This is your personal direct experience that is really the only thing that you can go by, because nothing else matters. It doesn't matter what people say or what you read or whatever. It's your direct experience of how you feel, how you think, how you behave, and how reality, responds to that, whether it's other people, places, or things.
Okay. So there where I come in, because perception can be dangerous and faulty. So because perception is limited, because people are stuck, because that's what they see, their reality, and they're stuck. They can never open up to new opportunities. So I am a problem solver, and not all, but I know for a fact, I have the same phone number that I had for 40 years, and I get a lot of hangups. My accented voice, because I'm very firm. You're like, do you hear me? You're not your mother. So that's accented voice, whatever. So I know those hangups are my former patients, and I was lucky enough. I was in Hollywood. I had a lot of well-to-do business, whatever, people that could afford me. Sure. But for the longer time, it's like you go for a massage, so you go to a therapist, and so you don't meet your students after you go away, and very rare. But I met a couple, because a couple of my ex-patients or clients that were with me 3 to 5 years. That is the longest, because I don't hold on to people. But with some, they're so wounded that I even got therapy. Do I hang on to them, or do they need me, and all that kind of thing? So yeah, I make a difference to many people, and not all, because again, the self-imposed fear or limitations, again, so the reality can alter plasticity of the brain. If it makes sense, if you can hear you, if somebody can hear you on me, and many do, and that makes me feel that there's a reason why I'm still on this earth, and I'm doing so well. And I have 30 some more years. You hear me?
Oh yeah. And we will cross paths numerous times during that, I'm sure.
Well, I am so open again in your normal time, because see, and there's a reason for that. My Jerry was the marketing guy, although he came out, he was a teacher first, and then he was a real estate and all that kind of thing. So I attend mental health clinics. Without him, we would not have had it. And without me, then learning how to be administrator for the therapist and all that kind of thing. So I do not knock at people's door. And I don't do what you do, have a crowd. But I am a wonderful asset, a sidekick or something that I'm not done yet. Because I envision me being on the stage with you. There's some other people. No, only you. No, never mind the other people. And actually engaging an audience with the subject matter is dear to us, and our voices are heard.
That's one of my most favorite places to be, because that interaction, when you're sensitive, and I know you are, and you're perceptive, and you're probably deeply empathic, and I know you listen empathically and generatively, because we've done that. When you bring that presence into an audience, it elevates the entire room in some way, shape, or form. And just the fact that you're having fun and you're engaging, right? You're not just a sage on stage, which is what people have been used to in the past with all the, new age workshops and all that kind of stuff, where they just sit and listen or maybe meditate or whatever. But the interaction is what's important, right? You get people to talking and having fun with each other, and that then opens them up and creates space for at least a little vulnerability to show up. right? Because they're in a safe place, they're in a room that, nobody's standing
And
around.
they're hungry. They're open and hungry.
Yeah.
Mere fact that they're there.
Yeah.
And that's what I've not done yet. And that's potentially, I don't know, with you, because I'm very passive and I have Jerry to do that. I see myself.
You passive? I don't see that.
But there are many layers to all of us.
Oh, I'm sure there are.
It's really interesting. Like I'm so secure. I do not knock at strangers people's door. I do not get engagement.
Sure.
I do not, in Jerry, here she connected me with some guy, whatever. I said, no, you do it. It's like arrange it, like she arranged it with you. So,
and I feel so blessed that she did, right? That's one of the first, you're one of the first or as a publicist that reached out to me. So that to me is really heartwarming. And it's like, okay, I'm in flow. I'm doing the right thing because it's attracting dynamic, magnificent people like you that have the time and willingness to come on and just have a conversation with me, because I'm nobody from nowhere, right? I grew up in a small town in Indiana. and all I've got is this passion to talk to people, share things, talk about what helps to make us or helps to bring a more congruent, compatible, consistent, contiguous, I love alliteration, by the way, consistent experience. And this is what we seek for everyone. So speaking of that, on a consistent, let's say day-to-day basis, what kind of advice could you give to someone who's in a place where they're struggling a little bit and they're wanting to find that courage in themselves to step up? What did you do on a daily basis that prepared you, and what did you maybe learn from others as how they took your advice and applied that to change their own lives?
Okay, I'm not normal, and that is not a put down.
Well, we know that already. Neither one of us. But...
So I don't remember. Again, conveniently, I'm told that I'm in denial. I have no regrets. Whatever the moment I made the decision, and so be it, I embrace it all, whatever. So I'm not normal in that sense. I do know when people struggle with something, they cannot do it by themselves, because they've tried. It's like with eating disorder, with the relationships, with what am I going to do when my kids are leaving their household, whatever. So when you are stuck, when anybody's stuck, they go on and on and on. The kind of self, and they go nowhere. So they need to reach out in wonderful support groups in our community. They used to be the rabbi or the priest, whatever. They would not guide you your profession. But again, it's like a list, whatever. When I grow up, now that I can, how might I want? What could I do? But if you are lucky enough, again, I like money and I do not cater to money. But if they pay somebody, I want to get paid, because guess what? I'm not a saint. Right. My donation, my 5 grandkids, they all did college and we travel together and all that kind of thing. I love making money because, again, what I can do with it, that's control. But again, there's some people that cannot do it all and they don't need to, whatever they volunteering, again, being part of the community, lending a hand. And the biggest thing is it doesn't have to be something spectacular. It can be something little.
Simple gestures.
But again, need to reach out. The biggest thing is I would tell somebody, okay, look in your neighborhood, look in your community. It doesn't have to be it. It's like people that are single. They want to find a soulmate. I don't know what means soulmate. Hey, you have something in interest together. I mean, they're uplifting, whatever. So I don't know about the perfect, what you should do. A lot of people, they compare themselves with others in the family or friends, achieving and all that kind of thing. It's not about that. About feeling good about yourself, feeling connected, and being part of Tikkun Olam, repair the worry. By healing others, you heal yourself. And it's complicated. It's not easy because the word stuck means stuck. So you know that you cannot go out by yourself. You do need, like when you try to recover from alcohol, whatever, you need a sponsor. You need a support group. And it's easy to fall off back and forth, the struggle of life. Mm-hmm. And for some people, it's easy. I come in, I flip a coin. And no regrets. I don't know about you, because again, most people, I should if I could have. No, I'm not aware of it all. I could be in denial, and how lucky am I? Because
well, that's where ignorance is bliss, right? You don't know. It doesn't matter. So, and it really sounds like what you were just talking about applies to both sides of the evolution that we're in. One are those that are struggling, looking for help, those that want to help, because the same patterns, to be involved in the community, to look for those little things, even if you're in a grocery store and you see somebody that's having a difficulty, ask if you can help. We just don't see that. And I think that kind of simple change or shift in behavior would have some profound effects in a very short
Okay,
amount
I'm
of time.
stopping again. I'm just thinking, belonging to church or temple, because I know them both, they have a lot of good doers. They have for the poor people, they involve the young kids, whatever. So still, it's being part of the community, being involved through them, because again, being on yourself, it's really complicated if you're stuck. So I can see American people are good people, not just American people, but part of the community where very few people are leaders. Very few people, most of people follow. They don't have their own creative ideas. So reach out. You have nothing to lose. There's no failure. Do you hear me? Something doesn't work out. One door closes, another opens. It's not about proving, look, mom, no cavity. We're all a little kid with unfinished desire to be applauded. Maybe the brother or the sister are smarter or are more achieving. We're such a materialistic society. And by the way, I like money so I can spread it. So it is not that complicated. It's somebody being enough to know, okay, because things change. You can be fine, and then suddenly because of a loss, because of whatever, because of a handicap, okay, this is new for me. And we are not dinosaurs. What can I do? Okay, I don't know. We all need approval. We need somebody to reach out. And that does not mean weak. That means courage. That means you want to take care of yourself.
I find a lot of people have these brilliant ideas and have plans and are able to take action, but they haven't, because they haven't given themselves permission first. They're waiting for someone else to give them permission. And as a coach, a transformational coach, my clients, when we get to that place where, it's amazing to me because they simply haven't given themselves permission because they're looking for someone else to give them permission to do so. And man, as soon as you do, it's like, now I can go do this, and they do. And, and then they gradually learn that, okay, this is about your own self-direction. You don't need permission from somebody else. Now you've learned how to do it. I'm out of the picture. Go.
Okay, but they had you. They had me. There is room for a coach. There's room for a benevolent parent that eventually you're doing good, Johnny. And then they can say, I'm doing good as they're grown-ups. Many don't come from that kind of background, and they need a you, they need a me. How lucky are they to cross our path? Because, because we all...
And it's humbling to me because I don't think about it from that perspective. I'm just here to be of greater service than I think I can be. And I'm constantly challenging myself to be and do more. As I'm sure you do, right? Because your life's been full of that.
No, I don't know about more. I am in the same old. If it's good today, it's good tomorrow. I'm very boring. I'm not a foodie. So I always go for the same thing because it's predictable and I like it.
Let me reframe more. That simply means that you have progressed in your own evolution to the point where you are now.
And I will never stop.
Right.
Till I check out.
Right.
At 23 or 24 or more.
Yeah, I don't know what I can't do yet, and I don't know that, and I want to continue as you do. And I think there's many of us that are at that place right now where, it's like a door is open to universal permission. Right.
Appreciation of life and being open, because it's not always somebody else. It could have been us with the COVID or on the free bit or whatever. So the appreciation, sometimes we have to remember, not me, I've always had it lucky to be alive, all right? But sometimes we need a friendly reminder. Life is terribly short, and stress shortens life. And people that are negative, they're dragging you down, it's contagious. So unless it's your family or somebody like this, you have to learn to navigate, get rid of it, because everybody matters, but so do you. So we are an inspiration, and we will never stop till we check out. That could be tomorrow, but I have a coffin already. You don't have a coffin, but you have a partner. You don't need it. Huh? So
Not quite yet, anyway. You know, I really enjoyed this conversation, and I wish it could go on for much longer. We're out of time for now. We've gone longer than interviews I've had, and it's been perfect. I've really loved the care and concern and wisdom that you carry for humanity and how you're presenting that even at the young age of 88.
You know what, when I say, I really mean it. I am an example, and if that sounds bragging, I do brag. Age is a number. I will not be defined by my age. Yeah, how come your hair is long? You have to have it done. Why not short? Why? I said, why do you think you know how I should live my life? So again, I am an example because things are changing slowly, but they are. And people are living our octocentenarian and supercentenarian, which are still active, and so forth. So being an example makes me feel there's a reason why I'm here. I don't know why, I don't care. I just love being alive and do what I'm doing with you now, because we are not on the stage. And I hope, because I will not knock at your door. As much as I enjoyed you as well, you will have to knock at Jerry's door or my door, whatever, when the time comes, when there's an audience, so we can be playful. I can see us being on the stage. Again, I've done it before, but my point being, because we are already almost normal. We are already going out there. We already functions. I was at a concert, the Temptations, you know, but in a small kind of thing. I was rocking like crazy with a real, with a real audience, with a really kind of thing. So yeah, I hope that we shall meet again, face to face, with an audience and whatever, and have fun, and perhaps getting some money too, because we have to keep on going and sharing it.
I agree, and we'll apply that where two or more are gathered, there am I also, and it shall be so. Right?
All right. Okay.
All right.
I'm not going to hang up on you. You're going to have to hang up on me.
Jerry, Erica, I again, just, and thank Jerry. Her name just came up, obviously. Thank her so much for reaching out, and thank you for being available.
All right. And I see her on Sunday. We're going to have our brain. We're going to enjoy each other.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I will tell her so. And you can tell her, you can brag about our meeting too, you know?
Absolutely will.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. Namaste and in Lak'ech. Thank you for listening to this episode of One World in a New World. I'm Zen Benefiel, and I will see you next time.